There's been a lot of discussion recently about potentially banning individual stock ownership and trading from members of Congress. We've been pushing for it here at the Damage Report. Just yesterday on the show, we talked about Jon Ossoff, senator from Georgia, getting ready apparently to put forward a bill that would do just that. But now here comes the Republicans. Maybe Kevin McCarthy, who is currently a House Minority Leader, a Republican member of Congress, says that he is considering barring members of Congress from owning and trading individual stocks and equities, potentially taking this issue, an anti-corruption issue, and taking it for the GOP. So he told Punchbowl News that he was considering the changes, but had not yet come to any conclusions on what kinds of limits or bans would be put in place. And Punchbowl News also reported that new rules could only let lawmakers hold what he's considering right now, hold professionally managed mutual funds or stocks in the kinds of companies that are not relevant to the committee work that they do. So only holding like professionally managed mutual funds or things that are divorced from like an individual corporation, and whether they do well or not, that's in line with some of the other proposals that have been put forward. But allowing them to own individual stocks that are not related to the work they do, that's a little bit looser than some of the proposals we've seen. But before we jump into our back and forth about this, I do want to let you know that he has individually, McCarthy, voluntarily abstained from trading individual stocks according to Insider. And we have Dave Leventhal on. We've been breaking down their analysis constantly over the past couple of years about individual stock ownership and trading and all the corruption of that. So Nina Turner, I'm curious what you think about McCarthy potentially pushing for this. Overall, do you buy it? Do you buy that he's being serious, that this is something he might do, that he wants to do?
I hope he is, John, and I'm glad. This should not be an issue that only Democrats take up. Ironically, leadership in the Democratic Party, they don't want to take this up. So really glad that Senator Ossoff had the courage to go beyond that and introduce, or is about to introduce, his own legislation. And I am. I mean, I cannot believe I'm saying this, but I'm going to say this today. On issues of this, we want both Democrats and Republicans to take action. And I am glad that Republicans are saying we just might do it. Now it's going to be a big embarrassment for Democrats because they should be leading this charge. But it is good that the Republicans are saying we might do this.
Yeah.
I hope they do.
Yeah. I certainly hope so. It would be hugely embarrassing for quite a few Democrats, no one more so potentially than Nancy Pelosi, who not only has come out against these sorts of reforms, but did so in a particularly embarrassing way. We're not gonna play the video again, we've played it several times now, but so condescendingly just dismissing the concerns as this is a free market and we want people to be involved in that. Nina, I don't remember if we spoke about that, but what did you think about what she said?
It made no sense. That is not even the answer to the question. Like, answer this question. It is, some of our colleagues on the Hill Rising, and I don't think it was Ryan, but it was his co-host, basically gave the analogy of it's like the umpire. The umpire gets to call the game and also gets the benefit from the calls of the game. I would have used basketball. The referee is the sixth man or woman on the court, but et cetera, et cetera. We can fill in our own sports analogies. The bottom line is it is corrupt and or corrupting to have the very people who make the rules and are supposed to call the fouls actually benefit from the making of the rules and the calling of the foul. It was, I mean, why wouldn't she support something like that? But it was a very kind of cavalier. It was almost like when she did the ice cream, when they went to her house and her freezer and then the designer ice cream, just totally out of touch.
Yeah, 100%. It's almost enough to make you think that she is out of touch and too wealthy to actually represent the American people and fundamentally corrupt. It's almost enough to make you feel that way. And I will try to come up with my own sports analogies. I'm starting to work on one on the back burner with Quidditch, but I don't have it quite there. But we will work on it. Yeah, and I also want to remind people, in case you haven't seen our previous coverage on this topic, there was a poll that came out last week about overall support for stopping Congress from doing this. And overall, it was at 76%. So already wildly popular in, we're told constantly about how divided we are as a nation. Well, apparently not on this. And I thought the most amazing part of that poll was that while Democrats were very supportive of banning the practice, Republicans were like 10 points more supportive. So this is a topic that Republicans actually, like if they wanted to be representative, if they actually cared about the economic interests of their base and not just, like spurring them to ever increasing heights of xenophobia, could move on. And it's certainly a thing that we could see bipartisanship for, like fighting against corruption and all of that. I feel like that would be a popular move, but will it actually happen? I don't know. I mean, after all, McCarthy could sign on to some of the previous bills, like we have a proposed bill that would end trades among members, the Ban Conflicted Trading Act. That was introduced in the Senate last year by 4 lawmakers, Jeff Merkley of Oregon and Georgia's other freshman senator, Raphael Warnock. House version is backed by Ocasio-Cortez and Cloud, along with members from both parties. I mean, they could just take that up and like they could pass that in theory. What I wonder though, do you believe the opposition that Nancy Pelosi has indicated to this? Do you think that that's a rhetorical thing, or do you think it's so strong that in theory, if they thought they could get this passed, she's speaker, she has quite a bit of power in the House. Do you think she would actually like stop something like this from coming up for debate or a vote?
I would hope not. I mean, it would not be beneficial to the party itself in terms of winning over voters in this country. It just wouldn't. And as you reminded us of that polling that was done, it is very clear that the American people believe that believe that elected members of the Congress in both chambers should not be able to participate in stock trading while they're writing the rules. So it would be the antithesis of helping the Democratic Party. Even if she just looked at it from a purely political perspective, John, maybe she doesn't care about it in the same way that we do. Maybe she doesn't see it as corrupt or corrupting. So even if it's just a political lens, it would behoove her as the Speaker of the House to go with the members, or at least don't stand in their way if we can get the majority of the members who want to see something like this come to the floor and even pass the House and go to the Senate.
Yeah, and look, like there's a lot of angles on this. I'm not going to say that I just accept at face value literally anything that Kevin McCarthy says. Sure. He might. I mean, look, he himself has abstained from doing this, so that indicates that's something. I believe actions are important. That said, it's very easy to throw it out there and get a little bit of good press and then not actually do it. Doing it requires you getting other Republicans to sign on, and many of them do own and trade individual stocks. So yeah, we'll have to see about that, but it would be popular. And it's insane that like Nancy Pelosi is not only, obviously biased because she is wealthy and she has made trades, and her husband makes trades and has made individual trades that actually seem incredibly suspicious, in terms of insider information. But when you look at Nancy Pelosi's wealth increase over time, over the past like 2 decades, like how can someone who has so clearly benefited from her position be managing, whether this is legal or not? Like she is in just such a biased position. But I want to give credit to Ryan Grimm. He points out in a very good tweet, Democrats would rather lose the House than not have a chance to beat the market by 10%. They're already rich. They're already rich. They're already given tons of. Continue.
No, John, I'm sorry. That point that you made about to me, the calculus should be this, not as what is in their individual interest. Like we're not talking about saving their life or something like that. We're talking about whether or not members should be able to actively trade in stock while they are writing the rules. Should they be able to benefit from it? So in this scenario, it would be nice if the leader or the speaker would take herself out of this and say what is in the best interest for the American people, and also small d democracy. That is part of the problem, which you just laid out. This whole selfish nature of too many members in that body. They are elitists. This is class warfare. This is about class here, John. And far too many people in that Congress they don't see things through a class lens at all. Yeah. Some do, and thank God for it. Some of them do. But the ones that have the superpowers tend not to care about class interests. Well, they do, their own class interests.
Their own class interests.
The hell with everybody else.
Yeah, they have this position of power. They use it. They have benefited for a long time. Why would they give it up when they are so obviously addicted to pointless increases in their own personal wealth?
They use it and abuse it, John. Let me throw abuse in there. They abuse it.
Yeah, and she's a great example of that. I mean, if we were in a rational world, she and her family would be being investigated by ethics committees in the House. But that's not even what we're asking for. We're just asking for reforms to the system going forward.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.